My name is Rowan Fisher from Charles Darwin University, and I'm a fire researcher and have been working supporting good fire management in the Northern Territory for the last 20 years. About 2 years ago, working with Bushfires NT, we developed an online fire simulation. It's not a predictive simulation, it's sort of like a game to get people thinking about fire behaviour in their rural zone, and particularly thinking about how rural block owners need to be conscious about how they manage fuels on their rural block. So the simulation game that you'll see playing behind me there allows you to explore fire danger, so how hot and windy and dry conditions are, wind speed, wind direction, but also there's various knobs and dials, buttons that you can add Gamba in and test different outcomes. You'll also see there's 4 different rural blocks. Each of those rural blocks has a slightly different setup of where fuel is controlled and where fire breaks are maintained. So we've used the fire management game, simulation game, in a lot of contexts, and kids really enjoy playing with it. And we've found that we'll get kids playing with that game. They'll be lighting fires, they'll be trying to put fires out, they'll be putting in fire breaks, they'll be trying to control fires as they move to houses. You'll notice if a fire hits a house, the whole game will start flashing and it'll say game over, essentially you've burnt down your house. I've used it in schools and found it also a really effective way for kids to think about how their parents should be managing their rural block. So often we find it's a tool where kids can go back home and tell parents, we've got Gamba on our block, maybe we need to be thinking about managing that because it could be a real risk to our health and safety on our property. So if you want to have a play with the fire simulation, you can click on the link that you'll see above me, and then you'll have a range of different settings that you can play with. So there is wind speed, wind direction, fire danger, and then you'll see a little sort of drip torch button where you can place points of ignition. You press go and fires will move through the landscape. Now if you want to make it really interesting, then you can start to add Gamba grass to those landscapes, so increase the fuel load. So you'll see a couple of little buttons there where you can draw Gamba grass into the landscape, or you can add Gamba grass to whole properties. So have a play with those, and you can also draw in fire breaks, or you can remove fire breaks. So you can see what happens if your property is relatively well managed, but you don't maintain a fire break in one corner of your property. It only takes a fire to slip through that and move in, and it can engulf your whole property.
Here in the top end of the Northern Territory, with our vast grassy landscapes, our tropical monsoonal climate, the top end is primed for regular grass fires. It's really important that owners of properties and occupiers of properties in our Greater Darwin rural area and areas surrounding other larger regional centres across the top end are ready for the threat of bushfire. This simulation game is a really great resilience tool. It encourages the conversations that you need to have with your family on how you can best prepare and manage your property for fire. A fire break doesn't have to be bare earth. A fire break could be a well-maintained green lawn that's no higher than 50 to 75 millimetres tall of grass. It could be sprayed, it could be slashed, it could be bare earth, or it could be burnt. But it's important that you have those low fuel areas so that where we have those low to moderate fire conditions, a fire may actually pull up on that break. But on the more dangerous days where we see increased bushfire danger, a fire break provides access for our firefighters to be able to gain entry to your property, undertake asset protection, or undertake defensive tactics to stop, save life, and save property. Other tips that you can do to best manage your property is to clear away any vegetation from around your home, areas that you want to protect. Some of those areas could even be your bore. If your irrigation system or your firefighting system that you're going to employ if you choose to stay and defend gets its water source from a bore, it's really important that that too is well maintained and prepared for the risk of fire. You need to consider whether you need to bury polypipe so that it doesn't become impacted if a fire was to occur on your property. It's important that you have conversations with your families, everyone in your household, and they know what your plan is when and if the bushfire is to occur. We want everyone to be safe this coming top-end bushfire season. So get out there, prepare your property, use the simulation tool to help have those resilience conversations in your family. People can understand what weather factors, what other mitigation strategies that you've used to prepare your property may do to help defend your home. Be safe and be prepared this top-end bushfire season.
2000.